Any Given Sunday West Coast edition. It is your host again, Steve. I am here to give you the recap, give you my projections for the next week and who's going to win and jock in for position. Also give you the matchups of where we land at in division and what does it look like from the division picture. We have a lot to get through. But first, let's go to the breaking news. So the big news that went down was a massive transaction, a 3-team deal in which the Florida Thirst Traps trade Antonio Brown, Josh Allen, and their number one or top waiver pick to Savage Gang, right? Savage Gang is now getting Brandon Cooks from the Empire and Mark Ingram from the Florida Thirst Traps. And then Tampa's Empire out of this deal gets Carson Wentz, but they only had to give up Marvin Jones and Brandon Cooks. Now, there's a lot of talk. A lot of people are freaking out. I'm going to give you the overall perspective of where I think who did what and where it landed. And it's all going to come down to this. If Antonio Brown does not get suspended, this is a bad trade for Gabe. Let's just be 100. It is a bad trade, right? But my man is thinking about the future, and he thinks, clearly, my man's going to get suspended. He must have done some research and found something. I don't know what it is, but he must have found something, because for him to move Antonio Brown and Josh Allen, who, by the way, Josh Allen was a keeper option for him. I think Josh Allen would have only cost him $2, if I remember correctly. So he moves those two guys. It's a lot of capital. It's a lot of capital that he had to give up. Again, he gets Mark Ingram out of the deal and Marvin Jones. So I'm not a fan of Marvin Jones, and I'll tell you my side of the deal. For me, this is check. This is a win. This is a win. I did not have to give up a lot of draft capital. I didn't have to give up my number one waiver wire, number one overall, which I'm like, how did I get that done? So I'm happy with that, right? And not only that, I get a starter in and out. I didn't have to give up a QB back, which was great. Because, believe it or not, I mean, I benched Garoppolo, which was the wrong move, and we'll get into the recap later. But Carson Wentz is a starter for me. So the only time I need to play now Garoppolo now is anytime, Carson Wentz either gets hurt or he's on a bye. So I have backups there, right? And I didn't really give up a lot of talent. I refrained from giving John Ross and my guy from Washington. So I'm happy. In terms of Savage Gang, Kiki, I salute you. Girl, you know what you're doing. I don't know what magic you did. I don't know what you were texting my man Gabe, but I salute you. You are a trooper amongst soldiers. You are a master amongst none. Because, let's be real, the fact that you whambeezled, I mean, you pulled off probably an epic trade of getting not only Cooks, who's a legitimate starter, but then on top of that, you smuggle out Antonio Brown, so two starters for all that, and you got a waiver claim that's pretty high up, and you're 2-0. I'm telling you, this kind of shifts a lot of things in that division, and I'll say, Jesus and Anthony, you may have a problem on your hands. I mean, this team was strong before, but they're looking good. They're looking good. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into the recaps real quick. I'm briefly going to go quick into it. Savage Gang played Tampa's Empire. It wasn't even close. Savage Gang put up a $117. Empire put 85.5. I lost this pick on this one. Again, didn't get performers from Mike Evans. My quarterback, David Carr, was complete garbage. And on top of that, Mac didn't show up. Mixon was hurt. There was just a lot of things going against me. I mean, Brandon Cooks it was the lead scorer, believe it or not, with 14.5 points. Whenever you have your lead scorer doing that, 14.5, that is not a good look. Ertz showed up, and John Brown was the right pick for the flex, so there was a good coaching move there. But unfortunately, there were just too many other things to overcome. Alvin Kamara having 4 points, not good. On the other side, Julio Jones. Julio Jones showed up, 24.5 points. Chris Godwin, some people could say, is he the new number one in the Bucs? You could argue that. You could argue that based on the 2 weeks we saw. Now, I do think it's going to balance out, but Chris Godwin looks so good. And then obviously, she just traded Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz got her 19 points. But I guess she's just like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go through that first half like I did. I'm done. Next game we have, slightly punty vibe, putting up a buck 35.5. Such a close game, but my wife ruins everything. Came through. Dom, 145 points. Again, I think this is the one that I picked wrong, so I'm 0 for 2. Not good, not good. I think I picked punty vibe in this one. But man, he had New England defense put up 37 points. Prescott again, 32 points. Odell Beckham showed up putting up 25. But Dom's team, man, Lamar Jackson, 34 points. Cook put up 25.5. And Dom, you sniped this one for me. I had him, I swear on my life, I will show you the piece of paper where I had him on my draft board. That was actually my #1 guy. And the only reason why I ended up not getting him is because Ertz went for so low of a value. But Mike Andrews, M. Andrews from Baltimore, I believe it's Mike, killing it. Such a great pickup. Next game, New York Powers play the Florida Thirst Traps. New York Powers now 2-0, put up 133.5 points. So this is the one I got right. Florida Thirst Traps put up buck 14. They did a solid performance, but it just wasn't enough. And I mean, again, whenever you have Patrick Mahomes putting up 41 points, and then your second best player is Kenny Galladay putting up 21 points, right? And Barkley is number 3 on the list, like, you're gonna win. Point blank period, you're gonna win. If Barkley's putting 19.5 and he's the 3rd best person on that roster, you're gonna win. On the other side, my man has a strong performance at a Tom Brady. But again, when your kicker and defense are on your top list of 13 and 13 points, and your other guys are not above that marker, when you're playing a team like Jesus, you're gonna lose this. So, Thirst Traps 0-2, Powers 2-0. Next game, Slap Sauce. Slap Sauce putting up 89.5 points. Just didn't have it this week. And McPoon came through, putting up a 97.5. I think this one, I may have picked McPoon. I believe so, which puts me at like 2-2 right now. And I think that's why, Sean may have sent me the text like, thanks for not picking me or something like that. But I'm sorry, my man, it came through. And look, when you look at the line, Travis Kelce did great. He put 19.5. Derrick Henry was 16. But Deshaun Watson killed you, man. It was Deshaun Watson putting up 12 points, which we didn't expect. Had he just come through like he normally does, you would have won this game. But it was McPoon with Matt Ryan, Devontae Adams, and Michael Thomas. They had enough to at least win this game. And then lastly, game of the week. Daytona Daunting Ducks playing the Colorado Drayton, and this was so close. So close. I got this wrong. I picked Drayton, and it was Daytona Ducks. My man, Daytona, coming through, putting up a buck 02. And it was Russell Wilson, finally showed up, put 30 points. Tyler Boyd put up 17, and Le'Veon Bell, the only bright star on that Jets offense, putting up 15. On the other side, Drayton, 22 points, 21 from Goff, 13.5 from Gurley. But look, Drayton, you're going to have to move some Rams. I think at the end of the day, you got too many of them. You need to diversify, so that's a trade opportunity, but they fall to 1-1. Daytona Ducks 2-0. All right, guys. Let's quickly go through the games. Let's then go through essentially who we got as our picks and whatnot. So let's go to the bottom of the barrel game. At the very bottom of it all, you have Tampa's Empire playing a slightly punty vibe. Tampa's Empire 0-2, slightly punty vibe 1-1. This is making or breaking for Tampa's Empire. They did a trade. They got Carson Wentz in it. They got they got Carson Wentz. They got they kept their #1 waiver pick. Look, it's gonna come down to this. Even though they traded for a #1 quarterback, I mean, they need to have a solid performance. Everybody needs to show up. The win probability from ESPN now is showing that 53% that slightly punty vibe is gonna win. When you look at the matchup aspect of it, and you just look at it from a high level, it's really hard because you have Alvin Kamara without Drew Brees now, which Again, ESPN is saying it shouldn't hurt his value, but we haven't seen where it's going to help him because he only scored 4 points, and most of his points were in that first quarter when Drew Brees was in the game. Mike Evans against the Giants, you would suggest that that's a good matchup and he would rebound, but Chris Godwin has been looking like the #1 receiver. Then on top of that, they traded away Brandon Cooks, so all right, insert John Brown, or you can insert you can insert Terry McLaurin, you can insert John Ross. Again, all those guys, they've been consistent as of late, but that's like 10 points, and they're playing against, his #2 receiver is DeAndre Hopkins. So they're losing the receiver game, let's be honest. Then you go down, Zach Ertz versus Evan Ingram. I think Zach Ertz is going to beat out Evan Ingram, so the matchup goes to the Empire there. Joe Mixon, this is where the game's going to be won. For the Empire. It's going to come down to 2 players. Joe Mixon, Marlon Mack. Joe Mixon plays Buffalo, Marlon Mack plays Atlanta. Gotta show up. And then on top of that, they do need help from the Titans defense in their lineup. The Titans D needs to shut out Jacksonville and needs to have a good game in order for them to win. The issue is, on the other side, you have Dak Prescott playing Miami. No bueno. 41 points easily, right? So then you go down the list. You have DJ versus Carolina. DJ had a little bit of a hurt wrist sprain. He came back, but he wasn't the same. I think he'll be okay, but this is where it's at. Odell Beckham Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, those are great matchups. And then you look down, he has Alshon Jeffries against Detroit and James White. So it's really Odell Beckham Jr., DeAndre Hopkins versus Joe Mixon, Marlon Mack matchups. Whoever wins that wins the game. I gotta go with Anthony though. As much as I love my team, I still haven't seen it put together, and I'm just being a realist. I think Anthony wins, and he'll be the victor for this week. The next game we have Florida Thirst Traps versus Savage Game, and Florida Thirst Traps, as you guys know, they just traded away their centerpiece Antonio Brown, and really they got back Brandon Cooks and Mark Ingram. So I'm assuming he's gonna plug in Brandon Cooks. So I apologize. I thought Brandon Cooks went to Kiki, but apparently the deal was done where Cooks is going back to my man. So that actually makes a lot more sense. But even still, Kiki still won the trade. Just to be very clear. Anyways, I think in this game, even when you look down at it, Tom Brady's gonna be good. But you look at her, she's got Josh Allen versus Cincinnati, and Cincinnati, look what Garoppolo did to Cincinnati. So. She has Zeke against Miami. That's disgusting. And they're just going to, once they get up, they're going to run the clock. So Zeke's going to get fed. Julio Jones against Indianapolis. That's a nice matchup. And then Antonio Brown's going to be playing against you the following week. And he's playing the Jets. I'm sorry, man. I look at the other side of the roster. Leonard Fournette, Amari Cooper. At the end of the day, she's just got way too much power. I didn't even have to go down and look at Chris Godwin or Christian Kirk in the lineup because I just think the points are in her favor. ESPN agrees with me. They're 64% on the bandwagon of Savage Gang. Give this win to Kiki. Next game, we have McPoon handling Go Engines 1-1, playing the Daytona Daunting Ducks 2-0. This one, ESPN's win probability is giving it to McPoon at a 56%, and they're projected about 9 points high right now over the Daunting Ducks. But let me tell you something. The Daunting Ducks have really impressed me. I've been really not picking this team, and I'm starting to realize that he's got a squad. The man is doing something right. He's got Russell Wilson playing against New Orleans, which I think is a tough matchup, but Peyton Barber against the Giants, I actually like. I think he's going to do pretty good versus Deontay Freeman versus Indianapolis. And only simple fact that I think Atlanta's going to just throw the ball the whole time, right? Then you go down the line, you look at Adam Thielen versus Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas's value just significantly took a stock hit, right? So he's not the same guy anymore. So Adam Thielen and Oakland, love it, check. Marquise Brown is the real deal. And look, I understand what Kansas City did to Oakland, right? But it was Oakland. Let's be real, all right? And this is KC team, which I don't think is going to be able to cover Hollywood. Granted, I understand last week he got most of his points off that one catch, but the man is talented. And he finds a way to get those extra points. So I give the win to Marquise Brown. TJ Hawkinson and George Kittle, I'm going to give it to George Kittle slightly, only because Hawkinson did have a great game 1, but game 2 he was non-factor. But then here's, Le'Veon Bell against Josh Jacobs. Done. Le'Veon Bell. I mean, again. So where he could win the matchup is in the flex, Hilton versus Tyrell Williams, and I'm assuming maybe he might switch that out. But even at that, give me Daytona, man. I like Daytona on this matchup. Next game we have Colorado Drayton, 1-1, playing the Powers 2-0. Right now, ESPN is giving the probability to the Powers at 53%. For me, look, Colorado Drayton, I've been saying this week in and week out, and I've been kind of, on the fence about do I like this with the fact with all these Rams? Do I not like it? I'm officially on the bandwagon. I don't like it. It needs to stop. Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, you're so dependent on LA actually putting up together, and they're playing the Cleveland team, and Cleveland's actually pretty good. I know, Marcus Mariota made a fool out of them game 1, but they bounced back in game 2, and I think they're the real deal from a defensive standpoint, and I think it's going to be very difficult to score on these guys. I don't think it's going to be the same. And on the other side, the fact that you have Patrick Mahomes playing Baltimore, so he's not going to have a 41-point night, but he's going to have roughly 20 points. I'm going to give him that, right? And then Saquon Barkley against Tampa, please, done. Stephon Diggs against Oakland, done, check. Kenny Golladay against Philly, I still like that matchup. I'm sorry. Darren Waller against Minnesota, that's tough. All right, and Austin Hooper's playing Indianapolis, and I'm sorry, I'm not an Austin Hooper fan, so I still think Jesus wins on that. You go down, Chris Carson against New Orleans, against Christian McCaffrey, give you Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to rebound. I was surprised by that Tampa D. Very surprised. It stunned me. I have Christian McCaffrey in another league, was not expecting that, and I will admit I was dead wrong on that pick. But Christian McCaffrey's going to bounce back. And then lastly, Austin Eckler versus Aaron Jones. Austin Eckler's the real deal. They've moved on from Melvin Gordon. I'm sorry, whoever has Melvin Gordon, actually, it's still Jesus, so you're fine. Basically, Melvin Gordon is a non-factor. I think it's Eckler's show. He's going to have it, and he's going to overperform. Give me the New York Powers. And then lastly, yes, I know you guys are saying game of the week, 2 1-1 teams, but you guys know I would never pick a team to go back-to-back. I like showing them, different spotlights. And my man Sean has made it very known that he wants to be talked about more. So I got you, Sean. I've been listening, okay? And here it is. Dom, my wife ruins everything. 1-1 playing Slap Sauce. 1-1. Yes, this is a big deal because one of these teams, they're gonna be 1-2, and their season's gonna look very different than the other guy who's sitting at 2-1, possibly, right? So right now, ESPN is giving a win percentage to Slap Sauce at 57%, and he's projected at 109. Here's the thing. I'm a little confused by ESPN as to why they did this. And actually, I do know why that they now give it to Slap Sauce is because Dom is missing a defense and a kicker, which he hates, which makes sense. But I'm assuming he's going to be putting and finding a different defense because he doesn't want to play the Ravens against the KC defense. I don't blame him. That's a bad move, right? And then kicker, I mean, he'll find somebody. He'll trot somebody out there that he doesn't like, but he's probably using it for a waiver claim. So, with that being said, Lamar Jackson versus KC, I like. Dalvin Cook versus Oakland, I really like, right? On the other side, you have Deshaun Watson playing the Chargers, okay? I still think Lamar Jackson wins that matchup. Derrick Henry versus Dalvin Cook, okay? I believe in Derrick Henry. He's given me enough to be like, okay, he's keeping this going on. So I'm going to say it's a wash because Dalvin Cook's been playing very well as well. Then we get down to the nitty gritty. Juju Smith-Schuster versus Cooper Kupp. And I'm sorry, no Ben. And no Ben means Juju stock value took a hit. Sorry my man Sean, but I got to give it to Cooper Kupp. And then you have Tyler Lockett versus Larry Fitzgerald. I like Tyler Lockett on this matchup, so I'll give you that. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. Gonna give it to Travis Kelce, so Sean wins that. And then you look at, and this is where the difference really lies, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel versus Sammy Watkins and Duke Johnson Jr. That is where the game will be won, and that's where I will give it to Dom for this instance. So I am picking Dom. I'm sorry, Sean. I wanted to, man. I really did. But I don't believe in Sammy Watkins because they are just spreading the ball too much. And whenever you have a KC offense that's scoring that many points and Sammy is not on there, I mean, I do think he's going to rebound, don't get me wrong. But I do think Nick Chubb's going to score too. So if, at the minimum, it's a wash. And then you're talking about Sony Michel versus Duke Johnson. And that's, I mean, it's a done deal there. So there you have it. Those are my quick picks for today. And then lastly, just give you the projected standings. I know everybody wants to know what ESPN thinks. So I will quickly go through that and let you know, hey, how did the shifting go amongst everybody? So I'll go through it very quickly. My Wife Ruined Everything is now 10 according to ESPN. 9 is the Daytona Taunting Ducks. 8, Florida Thirst Traps. At number 7, Colorado Drayton. Number 6, Slightly Punty Vibe. Number 5, Savage Gang. Number 4, strangely enough, Tampa's Empire with the new trades. Number 3, you have Slap Sauce. Number 2, you have McPoon Handling Goat Engines. And still staying at number 1, you have the New York Powers. Try to cram all of it into one show for you guys. I hope you enjoy and tune in next time. I will see you guys later.